Which one's the best crypto asset? Bitcoin's the best crypto asset. Which one's the best crypto asset? Bitcoin's the best crypto asset. Which one's the best? 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 What's the second best?
Welcome back to Discover Crypto. We've got an incredible show lined up today. And today, it's not just about discovering crypto, but the market makers and retail and alike have all seen and discovered a $25 trillion bombshell in the crypto markets that we've got to discuss here. And of course, there's been some overwhelming growth going on in the background in the Ethereum ecosystem. We've got data about Bitcoin. We got data about Solana, Chainlink, major moves in the ETF realm. We got really, really clear signals that are suggesting we may be setting up for that bull market that everybody thinks never happened in 2025. But the question is Friday going to completely make all of this bullishness disintegrate? We're going to be talking about why that is here in a second. But we have an incredible lineup of people today, not just myself. We also got my man, Mr. Druth. How you doing, good sir?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling frisky. This morning's Trump announcement felt a little bit lackluster, but he did give a pretty ominous warning about what the world will look like if we have to reverse these tariff payments the U.S. has been receiving and the potential battles in store for us in 2026. So we got to be cautious, but I'm feeling pretty damn good. I've been layering into more projects over the past few weeks. 2025 had to leverage trade my way into my own bull market. It is what it is. I had to forcefully inject my own bull market last year. So maybe we can get some spot movements.
Well, especially 2025. You played it so beautifully, and I know why it was beautiful. You played the altcoin market so beautifully in 2025 because you got hate during when you bought and you got hate for when you sold, and they both turned out to be incredibly pivotal spots. But throw it to the chart right here, coin market cap. Just want to really highlight, guys, we're back above $3 trillion. We've been kind of navigating just above this. This is looking great, a bit of a W setup, but are we going to get that washout to the downside? And the reason why I say that is because when we're looking at the charts right here, we got Piano Matty B going to be hopping up here in a second as well. This got to the point where it's like everybody goes, it's going to blast off. And what did we say yesterday and all of last week was watching Bitcoin's price coming up into this 94, really not even just this zone, but this heavy resistance zone that we've had marked out. And then, of course, this line that we had on the chart from several days ago where we had a previous bounce, rejection, and we came right up into the zone that the previous price action said, hey, pay attention, dum-dum. And then what happened today? We had the price action running up, felt good. A little bit of a bearish divergence was set up right into this. And was it just that? Or was there something else that had this price action take a pretty fast spill, boom, right to this next level of support, fell through it? Are we headed down to 90? Are we headed down below that? What's your initial impressions today on the price action, Drew?
Yeah, I mean, that dump that you highlighted there this morning, honestly, it's not really that much of a dump. We fall from 94 to 92, but the timing was right at around when Trump was starting to release information about not only the potential impeachment that he might face during the 2026 midterm elections, should Democrats win here in the United States, but also the battle between the Trump administration and the Supreme Court of the United States. So we're not out of the woodwork yet. And what's the deal with Friday? I keep seeing Friday highlighted here. So, what's happening Friday?
Supreme Court sets Friday for opinions amid tariff watch. And this is the big deal, everybody. If you don't realize how important this is, specifically also to Bitcoin, is when you zoom out on Bitcoin, I just want to remind everybody, this big spillage right here was when Trump got inaugurated. And then almost nearly immediately after this, we got the basically Liberation Day, which spooked the market. We went risk off. We had the reset, not just on Bitcoin, but also on the S&P 500. But coming back to this, the tariff talk about everything that's going on with the tariffs that have been instituted since February, March of last year. Now, I can't believe it's already been almost a year. But they're going to be basically discussing their opinions. They very well may have a ruling on it. There's a first chance for a ruling on President Trump's global tariffs. Now, the question is going to be, is this going to be something so difficult to unwind so they don't do this, or is it going to be something where they come to consensus that the emergency actions, as set forth in under 1977 law about emergency actions to do some of these economic changes? But this is case in point why you see Bitcoin having a little bit of spill here. You see Ethereum having a little bit of a spill here, but at the same time, we're not really seeing the S&P 500 take a spill here. So I think a lot of this is not just a Supreme Court ruling on Friday, but also the concerns that he mentioned about potential impeachment. Because if he were to be impeached, it would be because that the midterms were lost, and now we have a Democratic rule in the House of Representatives, the Senate, the Congress, so on and so forth, which therefore could hamstring any further positive growth or movement in the blockchain ecosystem. But the question is, Drew, really, the real question is, are we going to finally get to a point at some point where there's a bipartisan positive scope about moving forward with crypto? Because to me, it's the most democratized access point ever for people. I would think Democrats would love to grow this industry and not just hamstring it and have us be like the European Union, decades behind everybody else on earth.
Yeah, I mean, you have a degree of reason that's happening on both sides right now, Kelly. Like I see some Democrats that see the use case of crypto, see some Republicans that don't see the use case of crypto because they're paid off by bankers, right? I think the banking industry sees DeFi as a major, major threat. If you can earn yield off of money and people can get into these pools where they can earn yield very, very easily, it's a major threat to the existing banking infrastructure. So they're going to basically lobby against crypto in the dark corners while acting like, hey, we get along with you guys. And they're behind the back wall of the high school. Fuck these guys, they're paying off people to go after them. Elizabeth Warren will never stop, though she's ineffective. She's one of their best.
Are you saying we just need just the right amount of censorship within the crypto ecosystem, or what? Because if I see Bitcoin in a bikini, and to me this looks very, very aerodynamic, efficient, unrestricted, swift movement allowed. I was just joking with this because there's so much debauchery going on with everybody putting everybody else in bikinis. It's like, no, let's actually have some humor here. But there's a lot that goes there. But let's actually pull up our boy Piano Matty B and get your thoughts. You do it. My bad. Get your thoughts on this discourse. I mean, you're up there in the stand, the NATA stand, if you will, Canada. What do you make with your decade-ish in the crypto ecosystem? The changes that have happened here on the policy level or attempted policy level in the U.S., and this potential not only Supreme Court on tariffs, but then also this potential shift in basically making Trump a lame duck as a president.
Well, I think you guys hit it on the head there. Like if Trump loses in the midterm and we basically have a Democratic House and Senate, they're going to come into it thinking that they're playing the same game they played with Biden, right? It's like, oh yeah, we hate crypto, down with crypto, down with Bitcoin, this is brutal. And then they'll get the memo from their bosses, which is Wall Street and the banks, and like Jimmy Dimon will phone them up and say, okay, guys, I forgot to tell you. No. We're into the crypto rails now. We're actually designing the future of of Wall Street on top of crypto rails. So yeah. We're for crypto again, and then we're gonna have that bipartisan reach where both parties are just like, oh yeah. Well, our boss told us that we're into crypto now, so I think either way we win. Whether Trump loses, we will have a little dump in price, right? But then we'll recover because the like you see today's dump here. This is basically when you referred to the sentiment, the fear and greed. This movement, like a $2,000 movement, is nothing. We would never get out of bed for it. But now we're kind of like we need more dopamine, so we're making mountains out of molehills. But all this is the bots and the sentiment, right? So it's not like if you take a look at this price right here at 94.2, it's not like retail normies were sitting there going, what's Trump going to say? What's Trump? I don't like it. Boom. And sell their Bitcoin.
Well, I'm glad you said that. I actually had a story queued up here. The recent price action. This is actually what I want to see. Institutions buying the Bitcoin pump. Of course, we're getting a little bit of a dip now, but we're up this year. 2026 so far is an up year, right? But Bitcoin has experienced strong spot demand on Coinbase. Why is this important? Because you just use the word the normies, the retail out there. Well, the reason is this: there's a positive gap right now confirming that the rally that we've seen so far in the last 6 days has been driven by spot buying demand from American institutions. This is rather positive signal for ongoing rally since it's not driven by leveraged bets. So now, why are we having a dump today right now? Or let's actually more accurately ask, why is the price pulling back a little bit? Well, there's still this question about risk in the market, especially what's going to happen in the fact that Bitcoin and the crypto ecosystem is such an emerging asset class. It just got on the world stage in a positive way. And so everything that can happen regarding this risk sentiment, especially concerning what the policies are going to be or not be regarding Bitcoin and DeFi and stable coins, that's going to be large in part driven by what's happening on the top level of government. And if they're hamstrung because there's such a division and belief about what this industry is, it's kind of an interesting thing. But at the same time, we are seeing institutions right now stacking while retail is still scared. So I was just scrolling. That's why I'm excited about this. And furthermore, we're seeing the ETF flows back up, you guys, back up. And not only that, guys, we got Morgan Stanley, $1.8 trillion Morgan Stanley, unexpectedly filed for not only a spot Bitcoin ETF, but also a Solana ETF. And if you're wondering why this is so important, we've got, Morgan Stanley has over $6.4 trillion in assets under management, guys. This is massive beyond any words. And why this is important is because if you look at this is that massive $25 trillion number that's going to come up here in a second, but cumulative trading volume on ETFs. This goes back to institutional and retail and the world stage appetite, but cumulative trading volume of US spot ETFs in the US exceeded $2 trillion. The reason why this is important, if you break it down, it took over a year to get to the first trillion. It took just about 8 months to add another trillion. So this is speeding up. It's getting more quick. We've got, other assets in the ecosystem. We'll get back to this in a second. This is right here. I don't know of a single large company that doesn't have a crypto strategy, says, Coinbase's John D'Agostino. The point here is, with everything going on with Trump, and I'd love to get all three of your takes on this, with everything going on with Trump, with the Supreme Court, with the tariffs, we also have the institutional side of stuff. Regardless of the question about where policy is going to be, there's clear evidence that's being instilled and integrated and deployed on in the U.S. very aggressively, of institutions getting situated in terms of whether it's just starting a strategy or starting to enact a strategy for stacking, for integration, for payments, for all of these different things. So do you think a government that's a little hamstrung on some of these things, maybe the next 2 years or 4 years, is that going to slow things down, or is this still an inevitability?
I'll send it to Matty B, and then I'll give my rebuttal. I've been thinking about this for a while.
I think you're right too with the institution position. Like I don't want to give them too much credit, because I don't think they're that smart. They're just long-term thinkers. So they are accidentally falling into a great time to accumulate Bitcoin is when retail falls asleep or empathically just gives up and they start buying. This is a perfect position. They don't even know it. They're so stupid, they're going to succeed.
Yeah, I mean, think about, we're in a global economy right now, and communications moved online. A lot of things in our life have moved online. If you finalize payments instantly, then the retailer, the production location that's selling the product, instantly has that value back and then can reallocate it just as quickly once received. Currently, the way to send money takes quite a bit of time from nation to nation. And so with a globalized economy and all communication moving online, I think it's stupid for us to think that Walmart isn't going to roll out their own accepted cryptocurrencies, be it stable coins, Bitcoin, etc. They have, I think, there's a degree of what Piano Matty V said, where you have people at the top that are a little disconnected, they're stupid, but there's a lot of thinkers within these major organizations that are
Well,
mid-level.
you cannot ignore any sort of payment rail, any asset out there that does numbers like this, 25 trillion. And notice, this is not the top. We've had 47.7 trillion assets settlement, basically transactions that have happened across Bitcoin. And Satoshi actually said early on, he said in 20 years, there will either be very large transaction volume or no volume because he doesn't catch any sort of bid out there, right? But in 2025 alone, Bitcoin settled roughly $25 trillion on chain. To me, when people are worried about price, that means they're being very short-sighted, because this is telling us, and all the data we just saw about the increase in institutions and the fact that they're only getting situated, and people still wonder, is it going to have staying power? When you have an asset class that did this early on, and basically now, even in the worst of the bear market, this is massive volume that's settling, that's only going to increase from here.
Yeah, that's a number that it's shocking, but it makes a lot of sense. And it's really, I think $25 trillion in transaction in 1 year really, really solidifies that crypto is here to stay. It's the people that maybe were looking for a quick buck over the last few years that are not here to stay. And so we're at a moment right now where if the market turns around, a lot of people are going to be left behind. A lot of people that aren't just staunchly bullish on the tech and the theory behind a switch in the way payments are sent. If they don't have that kind of baseline or an understanding of how bad inflation is, they're looking for the quick fix, the quick buck, and it's not come. So a lot of people I know, I've seen, have capitulated. It's unfortunate. It's aggravating, but it is what's happening right now. That's why I'm excited to see what you, Piano Matty and Kelly, come up with for where we're at right now. Because I was looking at maybe getting a trade in if we get a washout a little bit lower to like 90,500. Maybe we'll start with send it to Piano. I want to get his charts and then kind of compare them to Kelly's charts, because you guys both do a pretty damn good job of giving me a bellwether on how the week's going to go.
Well, if you take a look at the daily chart here, this is just the Christmas consolidation that was just so boring, right? It was a channel of eternal monotony. But what I don't like, and is a thorn in my side, and on my channel I always say that which once wicked will get candlesticked. And we look down here at this wick on what is this, Friday, November 21st. Look at the size. Normally, like this wick, I don't care about. If you can see this little second wick, I know it's pretty small, but this wick here, that's a 5% wick. That's a wick that you have to phone home about and warn everybody that's a wick. So in my bearish case, it wouldn't surprise me to go down here, close a candle at 80K, and then it's doomsday. Everyone's saying, see, I told you so. It's a bear market. It's over. But I think that's just what the market has to do to clear that wick. And then we'd probably be off to the races. But I do believe the races will probably end around April, May, because we always forget that summer bummer always comes in. So you got the Christmas consolidation, which does nothing, and then that summer bummer from May to August. Yeah, you get a little bit of some moves here or there on massive geopolitical fundamentals, but generally it's a slow fade down. And then I believe Q4 will be whether it's the election crisis, there'll be a crisis, and that will kick in the next stage of the bull market.
Hey, Piano, one thing that if anybody was doubting crises, post-COVID, I think everybody's realized that if you're not planning for a crisis, then you're not planning at all, because especially this last 5 years, but really even the last year and a half, it's been one thing after another in terms of how markets are impacted by the geopolitical stage shakeup, what's going on with tariffs, what's going on with the economy, what's going now, AI coming in. I feel like everybody's running around with a chicken with their head cut off, trying to figure things out. But I got a couple of things that I agree with you on there. And then I want to show some macro stuff. I've had this down here for quite some time. And as much as this is exciting, we highlighted yesterday that this could be a Wyckoff accumulation, but before blast off. But if that's the case, this would basically be the last run up that's a little bit higher right here that would have a move that goes lower than these candle bodies, and anywhere in this candle wick that he was just highlighting. And that's kind of perfectly in line with the area I've been watching, which would be somewhere, as 81.5 all the way down to the 78, $76,000 level. But I am also watching this major level of previous resistance that has turned into support. So I'm not sold on this having to come all the way down to here. If this does have a bit of a washout, let's say down to 83, 84,000, that still, I think, would do it. So I'm watching that. I'm not sure if that's going to happen. And one of the reasons is one of the things that's been really shaping the market, broader investment and risk assets lately has been the 10-year yields. And there's if you look at the moving averages on the stochastic RSI in the 10 years, this is at a basically perfect hit rate so far on the life of Bitcoin. And looking at when you get this golden cross has been the exuberant part of the bull market. Bullish cross, absolute parabola, bullish cross. Right after, look at this is a COVID washout, and then boom, that's where we got through. And remember, it also correlated with the global liquidity rising. Here we got the bullish cross again. And then in addition to that, we've got the other signal. I know that we covered it a bit this morning on the Discover Crypto morning show, but we cannot ignore what's going on with copper. This may seem boring. Kelly, tell me about my meme coin. Tell me about my altcoins. Tell me about Bitcoin. If you're not paying attention to this, that's why you got us, baby. When you're looking at copper, when copper breaks out, what does it mean? Well, I broke it down for you. I asked Grok. Copper, often referred to as Dr. Copper, due to its role as an economic indicator, tends to rise sharply during periods of risk-on sentiment in global financial markets. So this is essentially one of the signals. It's a metal that is helping signify what's happening in the business sector and infrastructure and development, and also tends to follow gold and silver run-ups. So if that happens, this is what it has looked like historically. This is that copper gold ratio, which I've highlighted for about 4 months here. We're watching for a bottom on copper's value to gold. And when it bottoms and actually breaks out, this, just like we saw in the 10-year, has signaled when you get the fun part of the market. But Kelly, it's the halving. Great. This is lined up perfectly with where the halving was historically. And now we're about to find out, was it the halving or was it actually the business cycle, the copper and gold ratios, watching what's going on in the development here? And if that's the case, then we're starting to get the signals. We're about to have a very, very fun run in the crypto market.
Oh my God. Each copper penny is worth 4 cents right now. Copper represents economic activity kicking back up, people willing to take risks. And it's an excellent breakdown, very simple, that you did, Kelly. And like where we're at right now, I think I'm actually leaning towards Kelly being correct on the ISM, the business cycle, painting that picture of a low than all these other indicators, because it's economic activity. It measures economic input in general, not just our little chasm of crypto and our little pockets of meme coins and things like that, just general sentiment. And I think that'd be one of the more hilarious results is the year that we're supposed to be hella bearish in crypto and Bitcoin. It just takes off and leaves it.
Dude, I've got it exemplified right here. Check this out. The person driving the car believes in the 4-year cycle, and it's absolute. It has to happen. And the deer is how things are really going to go. So this is a 4-year. Let's stop. We got to get out. You know what? Let's sell all of our assets. Oh, wait. I'm copper. I'm gold. Sorry. This is what's going on in the market right now.
I mean, that'd be a pretty entertaining outcome. It's something that I'm thinking about. And like, that's where I just think about the people that came into crypto via State Street, BlackRock, you name them, all these pointy shouldered suits. They mean harm, they mean pain, and they mean to hurt the people that hold the assets that they're moving into. So that is my general thesis here. Maddie, I know I talked to you about the overall cycle a lot. Now that we're showing signs that Bitcoin's trying to break above that 94 spot and start making its way back near $100,000, is this just a fake rally? And then, because I know you kind of laid it out where the summer bummer, the boring part, and then maybe an end of the year type run. Again, what is your forecast in general on Bitcoin? Have you looked forward to like price action? What you kind of expect to see?
This is a little setup if we want to go into some technical astrology here that could play out for Friday. So we do need like a geopolitical powder cake to kick off these patterns, but this is a cute little cup and handle. If we can hold this 92K, which is also the support of this eternal channel of eternal monotony. So if we do this Wednesday, Thursday, kind of up and down, boring, then Friday we get some sort of calamity, bullish or bearish. That could take us off, and if we want to find out what this pattern plays out to, you take the poll, slide it all to the breakout point, and then we're all at about 100K. So
100K.
Yeah, if this cup and handle plays out, I would say that it would be invalidated if we broke below this 50 and 20 moving average here, but it could still test the 20 and the 50 moving average and bounce back up and then break out. So that's what I'm kind of looking for Friday.
Okay. I love hearing that. So you're saying there's a chance.
It's exciting too. And it's not just Bitcoin. Alts are dead. There's no alt season ever going to happen again. But all this has been said. And in reality, what you've talked about, Drew, what I've talked about, there's such an emerging technology sector in the altcoin ecosystem. It's just very diluted because there's so many different opportunities out there, but there's still so much exuberant hope about those assets rebounding. And we're starting to see it. Go to this chart right here. This is altcoins just snapped a multi-month RSI downtrend. Remember, guys, we can look at price action, but if we're not looking data in relationship to the price action means nothing. And in this case, like I've been talking about, watching the 50 line where this is rejected, and look at this, rejection, right in this zone has been the 50 line, but also downtrend resistance, not only broke out, found support and launched. Look how much strength is here. So the RSI momentum is the lead indicator if you really want to pay attention to what's going on. So yes, price action is broken out for altcoins. This is a total 3, okay? Broken out, but the strength is aligning with it. So the strength is here. I would watch for a bit of a retrace here. There's been some pretty big gains around the altcoin ecosystem. I'd be watching for a little bit of a retrace, but watch what happens with the RSI when it finds support. That'll give you a pretty good indication of really where to pull the trigger if you haven't yet.
Very, very nice. I kind of want to run this question, the same question by the chat. M. Frankie says we got to see 103, 105 hold for the bull run to be back in business. Let us know in the chat. What is the number, the price of Bitcoin that Bitcoin needs to hit for you to feel like the Bitcoin bull market never really left, just took a little nap, and now we're back to business? So I want to know what you guys think down in the chat, what that number would be. I've heard 126. I've heard all the different realms, even people comfortable enough with Bitcoin going down to 50K. That's efficient enough at 110, 108 from Mark. I want to see this. I want to see what it is. 104 from Brian. Okay. It makes sense.
I mean, we've got some key levels at like around 100,000 short-term holder cost basis, which is right in the zone right here. We also have the 200-day moving average, some other stuff that's up in the zone, but I'd really want to see us above 109. This is where I get excited because a couple of reasons. If you look at the measurement on the fibs all the way down, look, that's top to peak, golden pockets right there. Ignore the fib. You don't like fibs? Great. We also have this support, this resistance, and previous top. So we have a couple reasons to watch this zone. Potential rejection first, which would be healthy, set up a very strong higher low and then continue, or break through this, find support, and then go. But this is my most key number. Getting above 100,000 is going to be fun, but this is the area I'm really watching.
I've got a number to throw out here. I call it the bull market rejection zone. I've been kind of talking about it ad nauseum for a few months here. If you see where these two eyes are, this is the 38.2% fib on the weekly chart, drawn from the top to this, what was it, the first bar? There it is, yeah. And so generally in every bull market, when we have our first, crash, the price tries to rally above the 38.2% fib, which in this case is 98.3-ish. And we can get over it on the 4 hour or the daily chart, but you have to look at on this weekly to close the weekly candle. If we get above 98.3, to me, that's the bull market rejection zone. We've done it every time. Now there's only there's only 2.5 data points for this theory, but it's followed it, and hopefully, it breaks. But unless we get over 98.3 on the weekly chart, closing a candle, I would consider all-time highs maybe in 2027.
Dude, you know what I love about that? I just pulled that. It was the same fib I had up before. But that 382 is literally directly on the top side of this heavy resistance zone. And we've already had a wick. Oh my God. Nope. Rejection. So yeah, I think that's the first starting point. We really got to clear to even, this is exciting. We've had a bullish week, it's been exciting, but people always forget especially after a dump, they think the next move is just going to be bull like this. And it doesn't happen like that, except for on a line chart. You've got to watch for the scary moves, the chop along the way. These are what wreck people the entire trend. So let the trend really establish itself.
Yeah, take a look at from December 19th, save for some of the, 5 red candles since December 19th. It doesn't feel like it. It doesn't feel like we've been hella bullish, but we've basically had just printed green candles, save for some miscellaneous low volume Christmas Day, Boxing Day. In the past week, look at that. That's, 5 days in a row. It's pretty bullish.
This is all happening right like today and yesterday, looking at the Ethereum ETFs and the Solana ETFs that allow staking. This is the timing that I was warned about from insiders a long time ago would be the moment that really sends alts high, is staking available on Ethereum and staking available on Solana, particularly Ethereum. That's just happened today. We've had probably 5 or 6 days in a row of pump. And now I'm almost in a situation where I look at Ethereum's price compared to Bitcoin. Ethereum looks vicious to the upside. Something is happening on the inside of Ethereum. What is going on with this staking queue, Kelly?
Dude, the entry queue right now for staking is 237 times higher than the exit queue. So there's been a pretty big swing here with this fear about people were going to move out of staking and all, and everybody was super bearish on that. But we showed the bullish fundamentals yesterday on the all-time high for network activity on Ethereum. We're seeing mass staking basically happening right now, which is great because it removes in some regard easy access to liquid supply to sell, right? So it creates a little bit of scarcity, or at least speculative scarcity in the asset. And then again, I think you hit the nail on the head. On an institutional basis, Ethereum has a function that other asset like Bitcoin, for instance, doesn't on this top tier level, which is being able to participate in having your money not only be something that's a store of value that's going to grow over time, but is a profit center because you're helping secure that network. So you're getting rewards for helping secure the network, which is essentially what staking is. But if you attribute that like a normie or like a stock or a traditional asset-minded person, they're saying, okay, I don't understand staking. You say, okay, do you prefer stocks that have dividends or not? Oh, I only invest in dividend stocks. Well, this would be a similar, I won't say equivalent, but a similar aspect that's very graspable so they can have a profit center on their money.
Absolutely. That's exactly how it was. I can't dox, but it was explained to me that they understand dividends very clearly. Sure, Bitcoin's this apex crypto asset, which is highly volatile and offers good potential upside in the long term. But staking and earning yield actively on your holding is a great way for major bags to consistently make 5-10% over the course of a year. If you're making 10% on $1 million, it's $100,000. 10 million, that's $1 million, So their idea of the yield that these major institutional holders want is much less than the meme coin meteoric 800% gain that someone's looking for on overnight meme coin hold. Very different world. So I just like to highlight that because it's no longer the all ships rise with the tide, every altcoin rises. Kelly said at the beginning of the show, there's 27 million different crypto projects out there. The sector is fragmented across the board, and that money is really, it's spread out to a few key winners, Picking the winners. I'm never 100% sure on what I'm grabbing other than Bitcoin, but I feel strong in my picks. They've held up pretty damn good during this last pullback. Able to add a little bit to it. There's one altcoin, Matty B, you're probably going to hear a lot more about as time moves on, called Potensor Tau. The cap supply of 21 million tokens. And it's a very AI direct project, not an AI adjacent project. And in the term of AI adjacency means you can run AI data sets or, verifications through the blockchain. But a direct AI coin, you have subnets of, expansion and development literally happening within the ecosystem.
Yeah, it's a whole AI economy. It's kind of like the best way
Right.
I describe it. BitTensor Tau is like Fiverr or something where you go and hire help for somebody to help you move, whatever. They have all these different things. Similar in that it's an AI ecosystem that you can put up a bid for a project or an AI agentic model or whatever you need to be built. And they get, if people apply to do it, it doesn't matter where they're at, doesn't matter. It's just if you can deliver this thing and all the specs I need, then you get paid, and you get paid in Tau. And on the flip side of that, you also have people that are builders that can participate in going and finding different ways to, help build out agentic models. But then you also have the token economy of BitTensor Tau, which is very similar. I don't want to say it mimics, but it kind of echoes the Bitcoin ecosystem token model with the way that the mining happens, and 21 million total Bitcoin. But then also, I think you hit the nail on the head there, Drew, which is the most important component about it is you have these different subnets, which if they were businesses, I was looking at some studies, there's about 8 or 10 different subnets within BitTensor that if they were just businesses on their own, they would be valued at multi-billion-dollar valuations. And so a lot of this is just the populace, especially the VC populace and the speculator populace that's out there, investing and trading in markets. They're not really aware of the depth and the intricacies and nuances that are there. So I think it's still an incredible opportunity within the AI infrastructure ecosystem as well as a blockchain.
Yeah, I think one of the next kind of narratives moving forward will probably be how AI and agents communicate both instructionally and monetarily. And I think whatever token wins that, and my knee jerk is that Bitcoin will be like the currency of AI, but there might be like a fight for dominance, and that will be, I think, kind of my prediction is that we will see a mini bull market in all these potential AI tokens for information and monetary use.
Yeah, and I do want to highlight too with NVIDIA, because it's obviously front and center within the AI ecosystem. What happens with NVIDIA could very well pump or dump the broader AI sector. And I did see this story earlier today. NVIDIA just unveiled the Rubin AI chip. NVIDIA just announced Rubin, its next gen AI chip, is 5 times more powerful than the previous Blackwell chip. Remember, this is what really caused that stir because of how far ahead of everything else in its sector it was. So there's no slowing down. There's also an article, a story that came out, I think it was last week. Jensen Huang, however you say his name, CEO of NVIDIA, was saying that, they're opening up the chipset tradability, the sanctions, whatever, with Taiwan and with China and with what's going on with NVIDIA. And they had to build another 2 million chips because they only had 700,000 on hand, which is, to me, it's like 700. That sounds like a lot, but now they have a deficit because the demand, we keep thinking that it's peaked and there's only more and more demand coming in for this sector. So it's very interesting. I think everybody, because it's still in modern time, the .com bubble burst, everybody echoes it with what's happening in blockchain. And there's super exuberant hype that you want to get involved, but there's also this very cautious, like, I don't want to get wrecked, so there's this weird push-pull in the markets around this.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think that, think about it this way. So we're in crypto, we're in technology. We know all about AI, right? We can use AI for research, graphics, especially me and Kelly, I'm sure Piano Matty B even uses AI heavily because we're content creators. we're involved with a lot of research and things of that nature, but AI has not been rolled out to the mainstream populace in any meaningful way. I don't think that it is there yet. Um, what is
Actually,
this?
it's funny. I did a post on it this morning. I said, how many times a day do you guys use AI? And I just asked people because I don't even use Google search anymore. I go to Grok and it gives me breakdowns and I ask it to give me, I mean, it's amazing. I utilize it. I use Grok and ChatGPT for content title refinements like you and I do to really figure out the best CTR, generate memes, business imagery, video clips, and so many other things. I don't think we even realize, even if you think you don't use AI, if you're engaging with any multinational corporation or even a tech forward corporation, you are inadvertently engaging with their AI systems without even knowing it.
Mm. Yeah, piano in Kanadistan, is your average Canuck using AI? Have they talked about AI to you at all up there?
Not really. I think, it's because it's relatively emerging, and as content creators, we're always looking for an edge. How can I improve this? How can I tweak that? It comes to us like as a necessity. But I think for most people who are stuck in, a 9 to 5 kind of cubicle job, AI is something they're doing when they get home and they're making memes or putting funny faces on celebrities or whatever. But I use AI every day, and I made a conscious effort to get into it because there's one thing for sure: when a technology either comes, sweeps you off your feet, or drowns you, right? So if you're not riding that wave of AI, for better or for worse, like it may crash, but at least you'll be on top of the wave, right? You won't be underneath it.
Well,
So
dude, it's kind of like we've all had a grandparent or an uncle or a parent even that you give them their first phone or a computer, and like to you, it's so simple. No, just do this, do that, and they're like they can't comprehend. They haven't had the building blocks of all the different steps you've taken to get a device and be able to figure it out. They don't understand it. And similarly with AI, if you get left behind now, I think it's going to be a very steep learning curve to really understand how to really engage with these things. In 5 years from now, it's going to be like a grandmother trying to use a phone who's never used one today.
Yeah, it's going to come so fast and furious that most people won't know what hit them, and they won't even realize this. Like, so if we come back to like the confusion some people have in this market when it comes to Bitcoin or any altcoin, it's the fact that I believe we're not supposed to be here. We've all kind of woken up behind the curtain of like the financial rails, the future of finance, and we somehow, luckily, through our own desire and naivety, woke up behind the curtain and like, well, what the hell are we going to do?
Piano, I got to pause you there. Do you think it's any coincidence that you, Drew, and myself all, you currently still are, but we've all been professional musicians at some point?
Yeah, that's an interesting thought. Well, I think that's the evolution, right? Of maybe as a creative person, you're always kind of looking for that next edge and the future. Because when you create art, you're actually creating the future, whether you know it or not. There's something that people are going to enjoy into the future when you're even gone.
Yeah, kind of like pioneering what the next song could be and kind of pushing the limits. I actually think that there is a correlation there, Kelly. I think
it's being outside the bounds of the normal mindset of doing things. Like, to be a musician, you have to be a little bit insane, a little bit narcissistic, a little bit cocksure of yourself, but do it within balance. There's people that lose their minds over it and they're complete, you can't even be around them. And other people that kind of straddle both worlds of logical living and reasonable nature and very creative nature. But it's interesting to see almost everybody that I've met, especially leading up before 2022, that was in crypto, in 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, all, whether it was being a musician or an artist or something else, there was some other component of who they were that wasn't just, hey, the traditional accountant wasn't looking at Bitcoin going, this is the new money. They're like, there's no way the dollar, you know what I mean? There's something outside the systemness of your brain that I think attracted people early, but now we've crossed that Rubicon. You all have been to different conferences for crypto. If you went to a conference before 2023, it felt like you're at like a gamer convention. Right. Now you go to a conference and it's almost more people in suits and it's the blue collar, blue hair kind of thing. That it's a weird dichotomy that I've seen happen very specifically on this timeline.
Yeah.
And it's like pre BlackRock, post BlackRock.
Yeah, Vegas was all about mortgage integration, like finding and building tools that give you home mortgages backed by your Bitcoin. I'm interested to see how Vegas 26 goes, Bitcoin Vegas 26, to see if it's still that mortgage narrative. We got to ask the chat. I'm seeing a lot of chat plays guitar, rockabilly guitar, played guitar for 25 years. Someone asked, what instruments do we play? Obviously, Piano Matty B plays the harmonica. You nailed it there. Kelly, what instrument do you play?
Well, when I was growing up, I played bass in a Black Baptist church, which was so fun. You don't even understand how fun that was. I played guitar my whole life. I play a little bit of piano. I was a percussionist in high school, drum captain on the drum line, in the concert bands, symphony percussion instruments. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, it's I'm thinking back to my history. I got kind of a loaded history. So I started playing the guitar when I was 6. My dad wouldn't let me keep playing the guitar unless I learned how to play the Crazy Train solo on a acoustic guitar that was from like 1960. So I'd like learn how to finger tap when I was a very young kid to prove to my dad that yes, I'm serious about music. And then I moved on to bass. I even played the violin in a hip hop act. I played the piano, and then I was looking for a guitarist, and I got tricked into an audition for a heavy metal band where they needed a singer. I was not a singer. They're like, just sing, see how it goes. You look pretty good, So I went on there, ended up, just diving head first, ended up being in heavy metal for I think it's been 20 years now. The duck pipe. Oh God. Yeah. So maybe it's about maybe the ability to think outside of the box, to think about what is possible, and what we are capable of.
There's probably one little caveat hinge that we all, maybe was it the genesis moment for most artists. It's like, what people will always ask me, you must love music, right? And I'm like, and this breaks their heart. It's like, I don't really love music so much as I hate working, right? So I've just been more motivated to stay in music to avoid working. And I think when it moves into Bitcoin and finance, it's like, it's not so much that I love Bitcoin. I just hate the banking system. So it drove me into this search, right? Yeah. And here we are.
Pure madness, basically. I did play the saxophone. When I was a kid, I played the saxophone even a little bit. Now, I want to talk about the altcoins. We've had a little bit of a pump, and I want to kind of look at if there's anything that's on good sale right now.
Well, hold on. Let me just show something real quick for the broader altcoins. Guys, gals, friends, countrymen, we've talked about the Bitcoin dominance rolling over, and it has. It's looking sexy right now for altcoins. But if you look at the altcoin market broadly on a macro level, the long-term MACD on altcoins just flipped bullish for the first time in years, since all the way back here. What is that? I can't even read that now. 2020. This is the first time it's actually flipped bullish. You can barely see it, but it's also at the edge of resistance on this massive downtrend that this has had basically since the top of the last bull market cycle. And I'm talking about large ankle waves, small trigger waves on the MACD, also at resistance. I think there's going to be some fireworks here if you're picking the right assets and not jumping between cars.
That is.
So do you think it'll be the blue chip alts that will be the biggest benefactor of this little potential pump?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
I think some blue chips will die. I will say that. I don't think all blue chips are going to survive. Think about it this way. A lot of altcoin companies were used to and subscribed to the 4-year cycle. If it's a 5-year cycle and they didn't get their revenue pull, their money grab moment at the end of this last year in 2025, which did not come.
Their budgeting timeline would have been set up. They thought they'd have more now, and it's kind of like they're all scratching their head. And you have October 10th on top of that. They're all going, we got to rob Peter to pay Paul.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. I think that some of the blue chips will die. And, the fragmentation of the market you're going to get a good amount of development from so many different projects, but a lot of them are dead. Like Solana has millions of meme coins that have locked liquidity that will never see the light of day again. So I think that's why I brought up Potensor Tau TM to be, is because I think we're going to go into this year and things are going to get exciting again. That altcoin chart that Kelly just showed, that thing looks like it's hardcore bottoming. The MACD has higher lows on those swings. I wanted to maybe go back to that chart, Kelly, if you still by chance have it, to see what the top end of that trend line ends up being for the altcoin sector, because I do feel that we haven't seen the end of dead bodies floating up to the surface from the October 10th liquidation cascade, because there were some companies that were using leverage to make that revenue that were caught swimming naked. And I am of the opinion that there are still some altcoin companies that haven't admitted what truly happened on that day, right? I think it's going to get ugly. But this chart, so that green line, what is the market cap of this end up being if this chart reaches
let's
top
go to
trend
that
line?
would be I can't read what that is. It's others.
Yeah, that's others, I think.
So
Let's go over there and
to
look at that.
others. That's not on log, so let's take off log. So turn that off. Let's go to weekly, double click, zoom out. Wait, was that log? Was that
It
log?
might have been.
Yeah, it's got to be log, because where'd that go? Okay, so let's go back to log. Okay, boom, here we go.
Okay. Now I want to see what this would end up being if it does accomplish that upper trend line, because I have a feeling this is going to be pretty insane.
I don't know what that is actually, because yeah, that is okay. My bad. So they're drawing this here like that, and then we got
355 maybe. It's about
8 trillion. That's insane.
it's not going to hit $8 trillion.
$9 trillion.
No way. Because what's it at, like 280 billion or 240 billion right
220 billion right now.
Right. Like we got to think in reason.
I wonder if this. I can't really read that. That might be minus. I can't read that.
Oh, it's a little fuzzy.
Oh, that's others Bitcoin. That
others
makes
to
sense.
Bitcoin.
So let's do others. Here we go. This would make a lot more sense. Yeah. Okay. So this is looking at these two tops right here. Broadcast that out. So we got the oscillation here. So the target would be basically, this would be 1 Bitcoin right here, the ratio. But that would be, this would be a monster gain against Bitcoin. So if you're holding the, others, that would be a 713% gain up into this zone. The point here is that this is actually better. This isn't going to tell you the price, but this is telling you if Bitcoin's running, this is not going to be running if Bitcoin's crashing, first off. So if this is running, Bitcoin's also performing bullishly or maintaining some bullish structure, large in part on the midterm to midterm macro timeframe. This would mean that your others are outperforming by 7 to 8x.
I just feel it rumbling right now. I feel it rumbling. I'm going to go check out the Bitcoin dominant side. I want to go check out the Bitcoin dominant side as well, because just seeing the Solana alts run like they deserve to, seeing all this staking for alts breaking up. What is the dominance looking like right now?
It's rolling over, baby. That's what we like to see. We got the breakdown, the retest back up, and now this is broken down from this. It's looking weak as it can be, but what does the data say? RSI, this is what we want to see. Is it going to continue down? Well, the RSI tried to make an attempt twice and it's angled down. We do have the money flow trying to come back up though, so there's a little contention here. But again, remember we keep forgetting because all this news is going on. We have the MSCI going on with the MSTR and the Morgan Stanley Index on January 15th, which is next week. We have January 30th is the deadline for the government shutdown that's been kicked down the road. So I think there's still some interesting things that people are worried about, not to mention Friday's tariff discussion. But as we're just looking at this chart, this looks like it wants to make another swing, at least down to, we're at 58.9 now, 58.8, another swing back down to about 57. And then if we lose that, then I think we're going to be coming down to 55 and then down to 50.
Yeah. Jesus. Matty B, I feel like sometimes people can't imagine a world where Bitcoin dominance drops, but the price goes up. From your perspective, like I still feel like Bitcoin now has a higher floor in terms of dominance over the rest of the crypto market. Do you still, I don't think I've actually ever asked you this. Do you feel like Bitcoin dominance is going to hold higher than we've ever seen it before from everything that's happened over the last few years? Or,
Yeah, I do.
what are your expectations?
I do, because I think we're going to have a split in, like, traditionally, you talk to any Bitcoin maxi, you'll see there's Bitcoin and there's everything else. And I think we're going to have a split in the market where, Bitcoin will have its own solitary market, and they'll, maxi or whatever institutions. And then you'll have another fully functioning secondary market of alts that, but when we're talking about the blue chips, it kind of reminds me of some of these old blue chips are like female actresses in their 40s. I mean, they're still good. They're still good actresses, but everyone eyes looking at Sydney Sweeney or whatever comes the next season, the young actress everyone kind of looks at and puts.
Have you seen those jeans though, Matt? I mean, my God.
Great.
Sorry,
jeans.
but a crop top on a 51-year-old woman doesn't look the same as it does on a 24-year-old model. And that's not hate. That's just, it's kind of like if a man is doing stuff that's not of his age either, right? You got to own where you're at.
They're still good actresses, but maybe they just got to move into more mom roles,
Yeah.
The mom, the wife.
So all right. So my wife's my oracle, and she did a couple things. So she's now feeling bullish. She bought Bitcoin and XRP. Okay. She bought XRP, and she does this because I hate XRP, but I hold XRP, not just in my own family's hands, but a lot of my friends hold XRP. It is what it is. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not a huge allocation, but if XRP takes over the world, I'll still get rid.
You see that video? I'm surprised Kelly hasn't whipped it up already about the XRP. There was it was some sort of news show where they were talking about the potential of Trump putting something like, I don't know, 8 trillion or 10 trillion into XRP just to pump the market, dump it, and then do it again until they're out of debt. Have you seen that? It's like it's not AI. It's a legit.
Was this on CNN?
No, not CNN. No, it's like some secondary thing.
Wow.
Not as legit as CNN.
Now we got the chat fight. So Jennifer Aniston, We Are the Millers, the unicorn.
Well, listen,
of
Jennifer
both.
Aniston she's outside of all the models. I mean, like the models, not the models. She can do what yeah. But we all know the lady that you've seen. You're like, that is not befitting of where you're at, man.
Plus, they all have work now too, and you can spot that. That's almost like looking at AI.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Man, I mean, I feel good going into this year. Kelly, I think the main thing that I would like to reiterate is the government shutdown uncertainty that we are in right now. So we have like a temporary government opening. They've been able to vote to kick the can down the road and figure out some sort of budget. But when is the deadline for when the budgetary layout that we agreed upon a month or two back end? Like
January
when are we
30th.
running? January 30th?
Yeah, January 30th is but I feel like it's not going to be, it does cause some hesitation on risk, but I feel like the risk sentiment, meaning are people going into risk or not, and broadly, not just crypto, is kind of in a tizzy right now, because it really does feel like there's a reshaping of some sort of global order, or how to perceive what's good or bad. We talked about it the other day. Venezuela, what just happened with that? When the dollar rises, Bitcoin usually falls. When the dollar falls, Bitcoin usually rises. But at the same time, this is a great example with Venezuela. We could see the dollar rise and Bitcoin rise, because this changes the scope of what impacts on inflation might be, because of what this means for the price of oil, especially in the Western Hemisphere. So I think there's a lot of bizarre data points right now, but then you come back to look at things like the ETH to Bitcoin chart. And if you really want to just get the easy sentiment on what's happening with alts, this has kind of broken out of this downtrend that it's been in since all the way back here in August. We're getting a bit of a run up, a little W formation. If we can get a back above this level right here, I think this is going to be pretty damn strong alt season if we break out of this. So with all this on the horizon, I think you and I struggle with it. Piano Matty B, I'm sure you struggle with it. Anybody that's looking at these markets, there's historical trends, and it feels like every historical trend I've looked at is broken, but you cannot ignore them. You don't just throw them in the trash. Use them as reference points. You figure out how you can adapt and how you can pivot when you need to.
Absolutely. Well, Piano, where can people keep up with you? Because you're always you're doing in the middle of the night shows. You're throwing concerts all the time.
That's
where
true.
Can people keep up with you?
That's true. I do the live piano stream, the biggest and best live dueling piano in the whole goddamn world, Friday, Saturday. But I do a technical analysis Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. and 8 on Friday. We try to coordinate with Drew on his way to work.
I'm back on my bullshit, baby. I'm back. Right. I'm ready for it.
I do want to leave on a positive note, though. There are some really great people out there. In fact, this individual set up a concert for kids, and I thought it was so phenomenal. He set up for a concert for kids, but unfortunately, he did it at the Quality Leering Center, and there's no kids there. So it's too bad there, but it's nice that they tried to do a concert for kids. It's just too bad there's no kids.
Yeah, we should have started a Somali daycare, honestly. No, it's just fine. I'm happy to see Waltz is done. Iran wants freedom. The freedom bug is taken across the planet right now. I don't think, we saw what's going on in Venezuela so far, but there's some pretty big movements happening in Iran right now as well. So geopolitically, this is the Thunderdome. And I'm happy to hold crypto going into Thunderdome because this is how I won in COVID, where there's all this uncertainty, all this chaos going on, and just held good projects into the bullish times. We haven't even had a blow off top. Like March was an alt season for ants. It was pathetic, and only very few escaped out of March of 24 or December of 24 with profits. If you make a 5X, take some money off the table, for God's sakes. You know what I mean? Appreciate you guys. Make sure to follow Kelly at Kelly Kellum on Twitter, Piano Matty B at Piano Matty B. He's throwing down the largest and greatest piano shows on the planet. We love you all, and we will see you on the next episode. Take care.
We just wanted to take a quick second to shout out our sponsor, Arculus. They are a cold storage hardware wallet, helps you secure all of your digital assets for the future. Just tap this thing to the back of your phone and boom, you're in. We wouldn't be able to do this without them, but also wouldn't be able to do this without you guys, the Disco fam. You've supported us a lot over the years. If you want to support the channel now, just use the code DC20. It gets you 20% off this card. It's the #1 way you can support this channel going forward. Thank you for your support. We'll see you at the top.